Okay, so I made a weapon made. Um, I took the cold steel warhammer head and I put it on this 4 foot long haft. Um, it's pretty cool. I might take it off and put the cold steel axe head, the smaller one, on top, just because I like axes a bit more than warhammers and I like maces better than both. But um, I did something a little different. I flipped the hammerhead upside down. So because normally the back spike is reversed, it's curved over like a crow's beak. That's why it's called a crow's beak. But I wanted to try it this way because it's kind of sharp down here. Okay, it's kind of sharp. It's edged essentially. And so when you flip it up and you drive it down, okay, it still punctures the same. I have this chocolate milk bottle, okay? It still goes in. You don't have to change your swing at all. It still goes in, you know? But because it's flipped over like that, it's a little easier to get it unstuck, okay? It comes out a little easier. So you can kind of pry it out of things. It's a little bit easier that way. And I think it looks cool this way. But also, you can use it as a walking stick and not scrape your hand, which was the main reason that I wanted to do this. Because it looks like a cane from a distance. So if you're out in the woods, which I do frequently, yeah, now you got like a little walking stick, but you have a warhammer head on top. So if something tries to harass you, you can just bonk it in the head, and then it's not harassing you anymore. Like wild dogs or more likely, to be honest, people. You just pick up your walking stick and you give them a whack on the head, and then they go away. Well, yeah, that's the main reason I flipped it over. So the spike head is upward, and then you can walk with it like this, like a cane, or like a walking stick. And you can also flip the beak part this way if you want. It doesn't really matter. It's less likely to get caught on things when it's flipped up. And like I said, the main reason I did that is because this part here, it's blade shaped, and it's got an edge, so it'll go in just as well as if it was flipped over. So yeah, warhammer walking stick, which I'm probably going to turn into an axe because, like I said, this hammerhead from Cold Steel, this is the Cold Steel Warhammer. It's pretty cool. It hits hard, but I just don't like warhammers all that much. I like axes because they look cooler. I like maces because they look the coolest. And I personally feel, I know most people prefer the hammer. I think the mace is better than the hammer because it's just, the spherical head, the flanges really, is more, it's not more useful, but it's easier to hit with. And your hitbox tends to be bigger, and you have to be less precise with a mace than you do with a warhammer. So personally, I prefer maces to warhammers, and I prefer axes to warhammers as well. But the mace is my favorite because not only are they really destructive, but they look really cool. And warhammers to me just don't look that cool. It's just I have this warhammer head I wasn't using, and I had this haft that was kind of wasted on an axe head that I have plans for, and that was the Hanway Viking great axe thing. But I have plans for that axe head because that is a really good axe head. So I was like, let me try this. And then I thought afterwards, you know what? I have that small cold steel axe head, the bearded one. I say small, but it's like 6 inches, 7 inches, something like that across. So it's a decent sized axe head. And I remembered I had that, so I dug that out, and I'm thinking I'm gonna put it on here and take the warhammer head off. The axe has more heft as well, so you can hit harder with the axe. But the warhammer's cool, and I wanted to show it off. In my opinion, if you are going to get a two-handed warhammer, it should be about 4 feet long, because then you can you can choke up on it well, but you can also get good amount of leverage. It doesn't need to be longer than that. I feel like most pole axes should be about this size, the haft, and then they'll have a spike on the top, which gives you a little bit more. But then you'll also have a butt spike. But the haft should be about this length. I think this is right around 48 inches. So that is about the appropriate length in my opinion. And then you would get more reach because, like I said, butt spike, and then you'd have a top spike. It adds probably about 6 inches. So the whole thing would be about 54 inches long, with the haft being roughly 48. But even for like just a hammer, I think a 48-inch haft, and even an axe, the reason that this haft size to me is the best is because it's just the most maneuverable. You can swing it around any which way. You're not going to smack yourself in the stomach or the sternum with it. You got a good amount of reach. It's a nice lever. And it's not going to get caught on you while you're swinging it. You can pull it in close. You can swing it around. You can, most importantly, kind of bring it in like this, which if it's longer, it's a little hard to do because you'll smack yourself. So yeah, the main benefit that this has is it's really light. Because this head is it's maybe 2 pounds. I don't even really think it's 2 pounds. I think it's like 1.5 pounds, this warhammer. Okay, but then this haft has some mass to it as well, and that kind of makes the whole thing feel lighter to swing around. So this whole thing probably weighs about 2.5 pounds, and it's really, really light, really easy to swing and then stop, and you can make very precise smacks with it, and you can get a lot of power if you choke down and then swing around and then do that. Like, that will hit really hard. So yeah, I thought it was cool, and I put it together that way. And now I'm thinking I might make it into an axe, because like I said, I prefer axes to hammers. That's all for that. I just wanted to show it off. But if you happen to have a warhammer head, right, and you want to do something like this, try inverting the spike. I think you'll be surprised at how effective it is. And then, like I said, it doesn't get stuck as badly as they normally tend to. You can kind of pull it out a little easier. And if you really wanted to, you could sharpen this up. If you have this one in particular, you could like really sharpen that and like put it like an actual edge on there, and that would be pretty neat. I might try to do that, because I think that could be a really cool idea. With this particular one though, with the cold steel, that's not going to work doing it normal, because you might say, oh well, if I can sharpen that side, why not this side? Well, the underside of the warhammer beak on the cold steel doesn't lend itself as well to that, making it scythe-like. It's a little more blunt. It's not as edged, so you'd have to put in more work. But this is got a pretty good edge on it already. It's just not sharp. So that's why I was saying, like, you could sharpen that up, and then you would have a blade on your beak, and that would make it even more useful to flip it over like that. So yeah, warhammer, inverted warhammer. great hammer, whatever you want. I don't call it a great hammer because it's really light. And to me, a great hammer should be like a hefty hammerhead, kind of like that one that Shad has. That would be a great hammer to me because that's probably like 6 or 7 pounds, and it's got spikes on it. This whole thing is maybe 2.5 pounds tops. I don't think it's more than that. So yeah, long warhammer, custom build with extra shit that I don't mess with otherwise. Peace.